Hasan, it feels like you're a one issue voter. Am I crazy for saying this? What? Hasan, my problem is how you speak about geopolitics. You give Kamala far more credit for the crisis than other pro Israel Republicans. Wait, what? No, I don't. And also, what do you mean? You think I agree with Kamala on almost everything except geopolitics? Do you just like tune out when I fucking shit on Kamala Harris for literally hitting the center right talking points on every single fucking issue? Like, do you guys go, la, 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 I can't hear you? No, my criticisms, and I talk about this in this Newsweek article, as a matter of fact, revolve not around the issue of Israel-Palestine, which is a uniparty decision regardless, okay? It doesn't matter if a Republican is in charge. It doesn't matter if a Democrat is in charge. The genocide will continue, okay? As a matter of fact, my suspicion is that it will get marginally worse, even though genocide is the maximum thing you can do, if under a Trump administration, okay? Like, that's my assessment on this issue. There are whenever I'm doing domestic political analysis for the upcoming election, I do talk about Gaza because it is an important issue in terms of like capturing a base of support or feeding into the momentum that you've gotten. But beyond that, I'm more often than not talking about Kamala's immigration policy or the Democratic Party's immigration policy that is noticeably shifted to the right of where they were in 2020, to the exactly prime to what the Trump administration was hitting on 2020, as a matter of fact, including but not limited to building the wall. These are the types of things that I talk about. And it's not necessarily that I just like talk about it with myself. I literally have prominent journalists from the New York Times on to discuss these matters. I have journalists that used to work with Washington Post now write at Semaphore. Like, it's not like I just, sit around and just talk shit. Anyway, and it's ironic because, yes, this is her worst issue. New Post Scholar School poll of battleground states finds that Harris has a 10-point lead on healthcare, a 22-point lead on abortion. Trump has a 16-point lead on inflation and a 15-point lead on the economy. On the issue of U.S. policy on the Israel-Gaza war, 31% say Harris would do a better job. 45% say Trump would do a better job. Do you understand? That is not only a crisis of communication, but that's also a crisis born out of her ineptitude on this issue. The least important thing when it comes to voting, that is also objectively untrue. There are many polls conducted on this. It's in the top 5, okay? But it doesn't even matter because when I talk about Israel-Palestine, I don't even talk about it directly as like this is the magic fucking shift. Sourcers, yes, there's an NBC. Where is it? It's number 5 on the NBC polling. It is literally above in terms of priority. It is above gun control, which is crazy. Okay. Foreign policy, guys, I love Hasan. He just has zero enthusiasm to defeat Trump. Well, bro, the Republicans are way worse. Am I wrong? Republicans are monstrous pieces of shit. Okay. And there is never a moment where I have not ever fucking mentioned that reality, okay? I say it every single fucking day. You are primed into not hearing me because you are primed into thinking you're not doing enough to defend Kamala Harris. That's it. Like, that's it. I have long maintained the position that there is not much I can do if the campaign itself is putting out certain kinds of communication. If the campaign itself is putting out bad ideas, for example, no matter how comfortable or how reliable of an orator one might be, it's not going to fucking move the needle. And the example I use is Tim Walz. Tim Walz is a fucking gem, okay? Tim Walz is a gem. Straight up, I think we all agree, right? We all like Tim Walz. He's a gem. And when it comes down to it, when he has to defend certain things like, yeah, we should let Israel nuke Iran, or when he has to defend certain things like a right-wing immigration policy, right, that the Democrats are pushing for, he is objectively bad at talking on those issues. But when he talks about defending trans people, when he talks about defending reproductive rights for women, when he talks about fucking feeding the poor and the hungry, he pops off because that's something that he's passionate about. Those are good policies, and he's great at communicating those good policies. You cannot massage the narrative enough to talk about a fucking opportunity economy and $50,000 in tax cuts for small business owners. It's just not going to work because it's not only bad policy, but it's also hard to fucking talk about that in a positive framework. Okay? Here, issue in the 2024 election. Economy, healthcare, Supreme Court appointments, foreign policy. Out of all voters, it's the fourth priority. That also is obviously Ukraine as well, for the record. Okay? Yeah, it's above violent crime and, weirdly enough, immigration in this one, which is crazy. But this was the NBC poll that I was talking about that showed that top priorities for Americans. Here it is. Do you consider any one issue so important that you would vote for against the candidate solely on that basis? Abortion, 22%. Immigration and border security, 19%. Protecting democracy or constitutional rights, 18%. The cost of living, 16%. Israel's military conflict against Hamas and Hezbollah, 9%. Guns, 8%. Healthcare, 7%. Social security and Medicare, 6%. So yeah, it's pretty prescient. Like it's an issue that like is not a top priority for many Americans because foreign policy is not a top priority for many Americans. I've said this long before this point in the election. I always told you that like American foreign policy is not supposed to be in the forefront because if it is, Americans will go fucking crazy thinking about how violent we are, right? So that is deliberate. We kind of tend to hide what we are doing all around the world and how much money we're spending to continue doing the things that we're doing all around the world. While we don't fix the fucking potholes over here or offer healthcare over here or offer college education over here. So that's one of the reasons why Americans don't necessarily care about foreign policy when they're making a decision on elections. Foreign policy is rarely ever the most significant thing that people vote for until it becomes the only thing that they care about. This happened with LBJ as well. This happened in Vietnam. Now, having said that, has it arrived at that point for a lot of Americans? No, but it is that point for many Americans that are in key constituencies, in key districts that Kamala Harris must win. And that is significant, especially when there is no counter to it. You do not get any kind of punishments for it. Okay? It's a gimme. A lot of times the Democrats talk about how, well, these guys aren't demanding anything from us. The Republicans are just going to vote for us simply because they don't want to vote for Donald Trump. They say that all the time. What they fail to recognize, and I'm really worried about this because I do not want Donald Trump to win, and I'm really fucking worried about this, is that every single time they come out in defense of the Republican Party while they're running against the Republican Party itself in the general election, they end up hemorrhaging certain parts of their base that they take for granted. Young voters, Latino voters, black voters, and the like. Okay? This is a huge problem. It's not only a huge problem, I think, from the electoral calculus, because I'm looking at a map and they're looking at an entirely different one, I believe. But beyond that, it is a ginormous problem for the future of this country. We are ratcheting towards fascism. We are bouldering towards fascism, and the Democrats are willing participants in this, and I don't like that. I am fucking terrified of that reality. When one side is saying we're going to do mass deportation and concentration camps, and the other side is saying we're going to do, some deportation, maybe not mass deportation, and we'll build the wall, when in 2020, 4 years ago, you had one side saying, we're going to do mass deportation and concentration camps. And the other side was saying, no, we're going to do a pathway for citizenship. We're going to do amnesty. We're actually going to do the exact reverse of Donald Trump's immigration policies. And that side won. You have to understand, like, we are building, or rather priming, in my opinion, the broader American electorate to be fine with this dangerously right-wing Nazi sentiment. Okay? Is she actually for the wall? I don't feel like I've seen that. Yeah, probably because you don't live in Texas or any number of the swing states where they're running like Kamala Harris in front of the border wall. She's prosecuted transnational gangs. She definitely is presenting herself as that, and it doesn't even matter. It's in the bill that she says she's going to pass. And it's not doing shit. Republicans are still at 92% Trump support, according to polls, is insanity. Yeah, you're not picking from Trump's base of support, I don't think. So For a Brit, it confuses me that there seems to be focus on the Middle East and improving the living standards and not those who are literally living paycheck to paycheck. Who cares about buying a house when you can't afford to feed yourself? Yeah. But that same problem exists in England too with the Labour Party. They're doing the same shit. Yeah, so what? It's actually kind of disgusting how you're trying to both sides this. You're taking your country for granted if you don't see the existential threat the Republicans represent. Brother, I'm not both sidesing this. Okay, I'm not at all. I think you are not understanding what I'm saying. There's only one side in this, and that is fascism. And every single step that the Democrats take in normalizing that to their own base of support is dangerous and completely unacceptable. Okay, you can say you're both sidesing this all day, every day. I still ultimately do not want Donald Trump to win. I do not want mass deportations in this fucking country. You are out of your mind. The problem is, if I were to talk to Democrats, as I did in 2020, I could at least make a convincing case that the Democratic Party, even if they weren't going to follow through on their agenda, genuinely presented the humanity of immigrants in the way that they communicated on this issue. They were against Donald Trump's border policies. 2024, they are pushing for Donald Trump's border policies, but a lighter version of it. And that is really devastating, especially because that means that the Democrats have now conceded to the Republicans on the framing around this issue, that immigrants constitute a threat to American national security. And what's to make matters worse, to add insult to injury, this idea is born out of nothing. It is a right-wing hysteria that has successfully captivated the minds and hearts of so many American voters. That is deeply frustrating because the Democrats don't have to do anything but just point to the truth and say, you are lying when you say immigrants are killing hundreds of thousands of Americans, that immigrants constitute a national security threat. That's all you need to do. Say that they're lying and show exactly how they're lying and then humanize migrants. But they never did that. If you want to engage in lesser evil voting, that's fine by me. I'm not going to fucking sit here and ever tell you like, oh, don't vote for Kamala Harris. That'd be fucking insane. I will, however, tell you not to vote for Donald Trump. I do understand the situation at hand. I think that my fears here are significantly larger than just like this upcoming election. That's it. I fear that at the top of the hour, there's a 3-minute ad break, for example, and you can avoid those ads. The media is completely controlled by the right. Absolutely. Abso-fucking-lutely it is. Yes. Here's a 3-minute ad break now.